This year, there was no shortage of riveting trials that captivated the country, from the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse for the killing of 2 men, to the conviction of fired Minneapolis officer Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. We have selected a few of 2021 most significant cases that touched on explosive issues, including the right to bear arms, police brutality, and child abuse. Kyle Rittenhouse. In the year's most closely watched trial, Kyle Rittenhouse, 18, was found not guilty of all charges for shooting 3 men and killing 2 during a tumultuous night of riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Rittenhouse sobbed and collapsed in his seat November 19 when the court clerk read the verdict, which was broadcast live on national television. In dramatic testimony, Rittenhouse told jurors he strapped on an AR-15 and headed to downtown Kenosha August 25, 2020, to protect businesses from rioters during the unruly demonstrations that erupted over the non-fatal shooting of Jacob Blake. "I didn't do anything wrong. I defended myself," Rittenhouse said. In testimony that was corroborated by bystander video and government witnesses, Rittenhouse said he shot to death Joseph Rosenbaum, 36, after the man threatened to kill him and reached for his rifle. He killed Anthony Huber, 26, after the protester attacked him with a skateboard. Prosecutors portrayed Rittenhouse as a wannabe cop who'd gone to Kenosha looking for trouble. The polarizing case divided Americans over whether Rittenhouse was a courageous patriot exercising his Second Amendment right or a reckless vigilante. Derek Chauvin. Former Minneapolis officer Derek Chauvin was hit with 22 years in prison for the murder of George Floyd, a case that sparked national protests over police brutality and racial injustice. In a disturbing cell phone video, Chauvin, 45, a white cop, can be seen pressing his knee into the back of Floyd's neck, who is black, for 9-1/2 minutes. "I can't breathe," Floyd, 46, says more than 20 times before losing consciousness and dying May 25, 2020. Alarmed bystanders begged Chauvin to relent, but he was unmoved. Defense lawyer Eric Nelson argued that his client had used appropriate force during Floyd's arrest for passing a counterfeit $20 in downtown Minneapolis. Chauvin was convicted in April of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. 3 other officers involved in Floyd's death are scheduled to go to trial in March. Kim Potter, in another racially charged Minnesota trial involving a white ex-police officer, Kim Potter was found guilty of first-degree manslaughter in the shooting death of 20-year-old Daunt Wright. Potter, 49, testified that she had confused her handgun for her taser when she shot Wright April 11 during a traffic stop. Wright pulled away as Potter's partner tried to arrest him on an outstanding warrant for a weapons charge. Body cam footage shows that Potter repeatedly threatened to tase Wright before shooting him once in the chest. She's scheduled to be sentenced February 18 and faces about 7 years in prison. She was also found guilty of second-degree manslaughter, but under Minnesota law will only face time on the top count. Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan, 3 white men, were convicted of the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, an unarmed black man who was jogging in a suburban town outside Brunswick, Georgia. Travis McMichael, 35, and his dad, Greg McMichael, 65, a retired cop, grabbed their guns and pursued Arbery for 5 minutes in their white pickup after spotting him running by their house on a Sunday afternoon, February 23, 2020. Bryan captured part of the deadly encounter on his cell phone 2 months after the slaying. The shocking footage was leaked to the press, and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation stepped in and arrested the men. Travis McMichael testified that he was trying to make a legal citizen's arrest after Arbery, 25, was seen repeatedly leaving a nearby under-construction home. He said he acted in self-defense after Arbery attacked him and grabbed his gun. The men are scheduled to be sentenced January 7. Ghislaine Maxwell, a Manhattan federal jury, is weighing the fate of British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, who is accused of recruiting and grooming 4 teens to be sexually abused by the late financier Jeffrey Epstein between 1994 and 2004. If convicted, she could land in prison for up to 70 years. 3 of the women testified under pseudonyms while one used her real name. A woman identified only as Carolyn said she was 14 when Epstein began paying her for sexual massages at his Palm Beach mansion during one encounter in the early 2000s. She said Maxwell, 59, groped her and told her she had a great body for Mr. Epstein and his friends. The attorneys say that Maxwell knew nothing of her ex-lover's depraved interest in young girls, and that she has become a scapegoat for his crimes. Elizabeth Holmes. After a high-profile federal trial, a California jury is mulling a verdict for failed Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes. The Stanford dropout and Steve Jobs wannabe is accused of duping investors into believing that her company's diagnostic device could conduct hundreds of health tests with a few pinpricks of blood. Prosecutors have argued that Holmes' company, once valued at $9 billion, was based on an elaborate fraud, and the device was never closed to being capable of performing the promised feats. On the stand, Holmes denied wrongdoing and blamed her ex-boyfriend and former Theranos chief operating officer Ramesh Sunny Balwani for controlling her and subjecting her to alleged emotional and physical abuse. If convicted, she faces up to 20 years in prison. Balwani, 56, has denied her claims and faces his own trial next year.